everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of 10x Growth Strategies podcast. I'm your host Arthi Vijayaraghavan, a product lover, an avid reader, and a book lover. We feature the book Teenage Chronicles in conversations with its young author, Miss Saania Saxena. Teenage Chronicle talks about the rollercoaster emotions faced by young adults, from insecurities to love to anxieties. It's ranked among the top 15 bestsellers in the Indian airports. Saania is a globetrotter, a storyteller, and she's currently pursuing marketing at the University of Washington, Seattle. She's lived in countries like Singapore, India, South Africa, UAE, and her passion for exploring has taken her to over 50 countries. Wow, that's quite an achievement at your young age, Sanya. With a
Yes.
popular blog on philosophy and life titled Sania's Diary, it has nearly 10,000 followers, where Sania is sharing her insights and learnings through her journey. Sania is also a guest speaker at top universities like IIT Delhi and Ashoka, and a features editor on Times of India. Quite a few accolades.
Mhm.
Let's dive in. Thank you for joining us on 10x Growth Strategies, Sania. It's a pleasure having you here.
Yeah, thank you for that beautiful introduction.
Yeah. So, obviously you write a lot, you blog,
Mhm.
and what made you to write this book and why this subject in particular? And
Mhm.
how has the, writing the journey taught you about yourself as well?
Yeah, so I think throughout my life, I think school was a very daunting place for me, whether it was primary school, kindergarten, high school. I remember like every day I would wake up thinking that something's wrong with me. Like nothing was ever wrong, but I feel like telling that to my 15 to 16-year-old brain, she just wouldn't understand that. And so then I really started penning all my thoughts in my digital diary, like Sania's diary. It was very comforting. It was safe. I wrote almost to kind of disappear from everything I felt in like high school, especially like, insecurities, feeling like I'm not good enough, grades, looks, everything. Um, and then a lot of people, they started to like read my blog and relating to it. Um, and then suddenly somebody just said like, oh my gosh, this can totally be turned into a book. Like thoughts of a young person essentially. And I feel like that's how Teenage Chronicles was born. It's just like it's a very like raw exploration, I would say, of the
Mhm.
roller coaster emotions we go as young adults. I chose 10 that I grappled with the most. Like insecurities, feeling like, am I smart enough? Am I cool enough? Good enough? Jealousy, anger, friendships, ambition, curiosity, and obviously love. That's definitely one of the 10 of the most, like, I would say, commonly felt emotions as a teenager. So that's how Teenage Chronicles was like it came to be. Um, Something that I learned about myself while I was even when I was like brainstorming or while I was writing is like, wow, I'm such an overthinker. I noticed that I absorb like things around me so deeply, from like conversations to emotions, just like everyday things. Um, and then I realized that somehow turning everything I felt into words, it was like one of the most liberating feeling, turning them into a book. Like that was very, I think it kind of needed to happen because I realized that held a lot of things inside me that needed to come out. And then I think the bigger thing then that writing this book taught me is like all about self-acceptance. Um, it's always like the first step to like self-mastery, I would say, because we have like all these, good emotions, we have all these bad emotions, but I think really life is about being at peace with every single one. Like I'm sure you read in the first chapter, I talk a lot about my social anxiety,
Mhm.
something that I have kind of dealt with for the longest time I can remember. And now it's like I can take like certain steps to like not be as socially anxious, but to a certain extent, I've kind of accepted that it's a part of my personality. Like, okay, I think I'm like a decent, great writer. I'm a budding marketeer, a great dancer, and oh, I just happen to be socially anxious. Like, for me, it's like in a perfect world, things would be different. But at this point, I don't even think I want it to be different. So then I think that learning that, okay, some things are just like part of me, like my strengths and weakness, and accepting that was something I realized while writing the book, and that was a really beautiful journey to like be on.
Nice, nice. Very interesting, actually. So,
Yeah,
in the book, you mentioned that you interviewed a lot of friends, actually, a lot of friends.
yeah,
So what, are these friends from different parts of the world? And, any nice insights you want to share about how did that change even an image of yourself? I think
mm,
sure the first feeling is like I'm not alone because,
mm,
only when we talk to people we realize, it's not just me,
yeah,
even others go through that. And also,
yeah, yeah,
is
yeah.
there any insight on when you interviewed friends in different parts of the world, since you've lived in many parts? How was it different actually, and how did they react to some of these emotions in different cultural spaces?
Yeah, for sure. I think throughout like the interviews, they were from my friends, and some who would live in like America, some who would live in India, very wide range of types of people. And then I definitely had a bit of an aha moment, like you said, the whole thing about I'm not alone, because I realized, like I said earlier, I keep so many things bottled up inside me. No gold medals for that, unfortunately. But I saw that we all experience similar emotions, even if it's in different ways. Like I was really reminded while talking to them, I was reminded that um, my feelings are just as valid, even if they don't wouldn't like fit in the grand narrative of what's considered a big problem. So, for
Mm.
instance, like some of my friends, they would be like, I have always been insecure with my body, for instance. But then, even if somebody didn't relate to that, they would be insecure. They would have other insecurities, like constantly questioning, am I doing enough in my career? Am I doing enough? Or um like other insecurities that maybe they're not exactly the same things that I dealt with, but it's the same, like stems from the same thing, then the same fears. So I feel like just talking about those really helped me feel less alone. It was almost like a reminder that no matter where we are in the world, what we go through, we all are like you know, weathering some storm of life, battling some challenge. And that was really comforting to know because obviously, when I was like writing how it all started, writing for my blog and everything, yeah, I felt like I'm the only one feeling this way and like everything is wrong only with me. But then when you talk to people your age, and you realize that oh, even they have like friendship dramas, even they have like love love problems, then you kind of feel really good about it and about life in
I
general.
know sharing always helps actually. So
It really does, yeah.
yeah, and I'm sure I think I have two teenage boys myself.
Yeah,
And I also have a lot of friends who have daughters. I have like nieces and nieces whom I speak to quite often. And not just here in the US, but in
oh
India as
yeah.
well. Okay. So, or who grew up in similar backgrounds as you.
Mm-hmm.
So, my nieces are much, much more expressive. So
Yeah,
I get, or even my friends' daughters, I get information about what they're doing in school, what they're going through, and all that stuff. But
yeah,
with
yeah, yeah.
boys, it's so different. My
Mm.
boys, I think the most they will tell me is like, we have this nightly routine around 9:30 or something. They come to
Okay.
my sauntering into my bedroom and they'll be like, they'll share a small widget of what's going on in the school. Or
Yeah.
if I want to talk to them, I need to go in a car ride with them. That's the only way I can get their complete attention. So
Yeah.
it's like, how have some of your friends who are boys, how have they used the book? And do you think, as a teenager and as when you were growing up, how did you see, the boys' world different, or how is it different than the girls' world?
Yeah, that's interesting. I feel like in the Indian society in specific, like historically and everything, it's like girls have been more like expected to be like more expressive than boys. And boys have like other expectations, like they're more logical instead of like emotionally talking about their emotions that when they're teenagers. I do feel like now, like as a Gen Z myself, and like now when I see like my 10-year-old cousin who's like a Gen Alpha and all that, I do feel like the gap is starting to close. Like I see some of my friends who are guys now who are like so emotionally aware, and they like talk about things that my girlfriends and I talk about, which is quite like interesting to see. But I definitely think in general, like you said, if they don't have that expectation, or they're just like not talking about it as much as girls are. Like I remember in my high school, like the girls' bathroom was a place where all the gossip would happen about like everything about emotions, like what we are feeling, what we're going through, and then we would relate and connect to each other on like heartbreak and stuff, which I don't think boys do as often. Like, I never heard about that same happening in like boy bathrooms. But so I feel like when I the boys who have read my book, a lot of them admitted that they picked it out of like curiosity, but what was interesting was that they actually ended up unexpectedly relating to a lot of parts of it.
Mm.
While girls would be like openly share like to me and like to others, like when we would talk about it, like how they connected to the book. Some of my guy friends, they would express it in very like a little more like subtle ways, like okay, this chapter in particular, wow, it actually made me feel so seen, like whether it's like jealousy or like feeling inadequate in some way. They would like, maybe they had never articulated that emotion inside them before, but then reading for me it was hearing that it was like a book you didn't know you needed kind of thing. So I feel like that just goes to show that okay, even if you're somebody who doesn't express as much emotional up and down, it's like it's a constant in everyone's life, and that was kind of good to see, like even boys like using aspects of it and being like, wow, like that really hit home.
Nice. Nice.
Hmm.
I hope I'm trying to make my boys read it. Let's see if I'm
Yeah.
successful. I'll keep you
Tell
posted
me
on
how
that.
that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I like the story approach you had, right? So it was kind of a hook, or it kind of made them, and I think, as you said, your friends and boys or girls to relate to, oh, this happened to me, or one of this happened to me actually. And the other thing I
Yeah.
really liked were the pithy quotes which you used
Yeah.
all throughout the book. I'm sure those were, those were things which you read, came across through your life journey, and
Yeah.
what you have found out. So, can you quote one or two impactful quotes and how you came across them? And did you go searching for them, or the quote found you? For me, most of the time, the quote
Mm.
finds me. So,
Yeah. I think same. So one quote I use, think it was in the happiness chapter, when I talk about the whole idea of controlling the controllables. It's
Mhm.
this quote I use from a serenity prayer. So it goes like, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And it really
Nice.
speaks to me, because I first heard it when I must be like spiraling over something completely out of my control, maybe like a bad hair day or like an exam result, but I was like anxiously waiting for it to come out. And then my dad actually, in his all-knowing wisdom, he dropped this quote on me. Like I remember hearing it first from him. And since then, I think it's just been a really big gem in my life. Um, because of somebody who used to stress a lot over like little things that are beyond my control. I think the key is always to see like where our power actually lies. Like in my life, I always used to care a lot about what, as a people pleaser, I always used to care about what others thought of me. Like, do they think I'm smart enough? Do they think I'm good looking? All of that. But eventually you realize, that will never be in my control. But then focusing on like your journey, or like my journey, hitting my goals, achieving like my dreams, that is something that I will always have control over. Um, and what I should be focusing on, so that so yeah, now I try to think less about, okay, what does this person think of me, and just focus on my path without getting distracted. So it's a good one. Like I really, it speaks to me.
Okay. And what's anything else you want to quote?
There are so many. I feel like every chapter is filled with that. Then there was this typical Buddha quote. I got this from one of Jay Shetty's videos. Um, it was like the biggest mistake we make in life is thinking we have time. Because I know, like, as young people, we complain so much about not having, like, about, okay,
Yeah.
procrastination. We want to
Mhm.
procrastinate about things. We want to, like, become an author, but we don't, like, start writing. We want to become a singer, but we don't start singing. We want to, like, open a business, but we don't actually, like, get to it. But then it's, like, all about just taking action and, like, doing the verb, as we call it. Like, even when I went, for instance, when I went skydiving for the first time, I realized that the scariest moment is always before you start, like
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Like I remember it was always in the plane ride where I was like, oh my gosh, that's so scary. But when you jump, you jump. So I feel like that's such a good idea for like li our goals in general. It's like you never know until you never try. So you have to like give it a try and just do the verb. Because yeah, if we don't have as much time as we think we do in procrastination, it like becomes a habit. Then we're just like stuck, and then it's too late.
Yep, that's true. Yeah. And
Hmm.
um, the other, when I read the book, right, I think one of the most personally, friendship, right? It is extremely critical, and it has been one of my most defining things in my life. I
Hmm.
met a lot of my best friends whom I'm still in touch with, and I talk to them almost every week, are
Yeah.
from my high school and school days, and also my undergraduate days. Like we were
Hmm.
a gang of like 15 girls, and there are 10 or 12 of us who are still really close, and we keep meeting in different parts of the world actually.
Hmm.
So that's been like, and they've been through both, almost with all the life's decisions, right? So we call ourselves puchandis. So
Oh, I
puchand
love that.
in, I don't know, in Tamil, if you know, puchandis means there are these scary people who come in the mornings, doing like
Oh.
they are like soothsayers, or they profess the future and stuff. But
Mm.
we called ourselves puchandis just for the heck of it, and the name stuck.
Yeah.
And we call
It has a ring
ourselves,
to it.
yeah, yeah, and all of these friendships, it's like, I know if I want to think about or actually run through an idea, I know who of the 10 or 12 to call, and then we run through
Mm.
things, all right from, through different stages of life, right? Marriage, uh, career choices, how do we balance things, all of these things. And
Mm.
they've been, throughout in my life, they've been defining me, and always been there for me.
Yeah.
So any such
Hmm.
friendship in your young life, I know you have a lot of time to go ahead, and
Yeah.
I'm sure these friendships which you form will also stick through all your
Yeah.
life. So, what fears, the anxieties you have about friendships, and anything which you feel has, like, has been your rock so far.
Hmm. Yeah, first of all, it's great to hear that you're like still in touch with your high school friends. I hope that's the same for me. Like all the adults I keep talking to, they keep telling me the friends you make at college and at high school, they're like your truest friends.
Yeah.
Will like be there with you for the rest of your life. So I hope that stays true. But yeah, absolutely. I think I strongly believe in the fact that um we are the average of the five people around us, and that hence the saying, like, if you want to change your child, change their playground or change their friends. And I
Mhm.
think that applies to us adults as well, because I have dealt with toxic friends, and then I've also dealt with such inspiring, uplifting people who I'm like lucky to call my friends. So like some of my friends, for instance, they're literally like my personal cheerleaders. No matter where I have moved into the world, in South Africa, India, Dubai, everything. Like she's always been there for me. She's always been a part of every single one of my wins, and I have been there for hers. And there's just something very special about having someone who genuinely cares about like seeing you succeed. Like there's no in these kind of friendships, there was never any competition, there was never any jealousy, just pure support. And I feel like that's so important. Like for all like people who like make it in life, there's always the whole guidance and support. Like you always need that. So I'm really grateful for like those kind of friendships. And then like other like another one of my friends, she's like my unpaid therapist. I remember just yesterday, I was like crying to her about how my crush blocked me on LinkedIn. Like, first of all, who even does that? But anyway, that happened. And then she looked at me and said, like, Sanya, nothing in this world is bad. Everything is good. Like, what's this trying to teach you? That you deserve so much better. And I was like, you really need like somebody like that to tell you like good advice. And that those kind of friends have also shaped me in the sense that they are there for you when you need them the most. Um, and then just like thinking about like the friends I have in general, there are already also like some really brutally honest friends that I have.
Yeah.
But like it's kind of good because they like humble me when I need it the most. Like sometimes I feel like you need people who don't just tell you what you want to hear, but what you need to hear.
Yep.
Like one friend I have, I think right now he's in like Ohio. And he told me like a long time ago that I really need to start saying no because my kindness had started to become my weakness and all of that. And since then, like I've never let anyone like, walk over me like I'm a doormat. Like I took his advice and like it even though it was brutally honest, it's like it helped me like be who I am now. Like I don't just say yes to everything because as a woman, especially it's hard to do that, but then people take advantage of you. So yeah, have a lot of brutally honest friends. And then
Trust me,
like
you need them.
we really need them for our own personal growth.
Yeah.
Like we should like the criticism they give us, they know us best, so it's coming from a good place. Um, and then yeah, like another friend I met a couple of days ago, we are gym buddies pretty much, and we always hold each other accountable for our fitness goals. Like I think she wants to become this jagged bodybuilder, and I want to be able to do one pull-up without looking like a sloth. So we told each other these goals. And then every time we are like constantly checking on each other, like, oh, so how much protein did you eat today? Did you like hit the gym? All of that. So in that sense, some friends of mine, they really hold me accountable to my goals, which is very important. Like I feel like when I take a public stand and tell my friends, then I'm more likely to achieve like whatever goals I have, and even they are. So yeah, definitely, I feel like friends, they shape us. My friends definitely have, and I just hope they stay with me for the rest of my life.
Yeah, one something which I've learned over the years is you need to invest time in order for them
Hmm.
to stay. You need to
Yes.
make an effort. So it's like there are these couple of friends in our group who are the ones who are the organizers, who are the ones
Yeah.
who are tag-alongs, and there are people who are who have different personalities, which they
Mm.
bring different strengths to the table. So you need that.
Yeah.
And the other thing is like all my friends in the last 20-25 years, they've become very extremely successful. They're doing really different things in different places. But
Hmm.
when we all meet, we start in the place of when we were all teenagers who were clueless. So
Yes.
I think
Yes.
that is one of the best things I like about our group is no airs, and you can be brutally honest as well with
Mm.
that group, right? It's just not possible in another groups because you meet them at different stages of life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah. And one thing when I read your Teenage Chronicles is like the emotions which you explained and how you go through them actually. I don't think you essentially get over them as you progress in life. Someone who's a
Mm.
senior, I can say that. It's just that I think over the years you learn tools to manage them, and
Mm.
there are some tools who kind of make you accept things, and then the degree of emotions goes down and at different stages of life, and the tools you use changes. And I'm really glad you mentioned a lot of tools like meditation, introspection, writing, and
Mm.
so even physical exercise. Over the years, those have what have helped me prayer, all of those things have helped me manage these emotions. So your Teenage
Mm.
Chronicles might not just be for teenagers. It can be for
Yeah.
it is actually even for adults, and also it, as you said, like the amount of emotions just changes over, and the problems become different. You get tools, or you go seek out tools to manage them. So
Mhm.
coming to tools, any impactful books you would like to share with our listeners as we close out our podcast?
Yeah, I love reading, so I have a lot. But the two that I read recently, and they really like words of wisdom kinds. They're both actually fiction. The
Mm-hmm.
40 Rules of Love and then The Midnight Library. The thing I love about both of these books is that they're so thoughtful, philosophical, and reflective in nature. So I'll start with the 40 Rules of Love. The author, I don't know if you've heard Elif Shafak. She's the very, very like she describes this whole religion of love in a really beautiful way. Um, like it's more like a force and an awakening, like the thing that our generation has made out of like the whole idea and the world of love. It honestly like disgusts me like this whole casual approach to commitment and everything. But then when I read this book, like my whole perception about it changed. um like one of the ideas that it gets to is that you can like love people endlessly and pursue like other people, but ultimately it's always about the journey back to yourself.
Yeah.
Self-love, which my whole book's theme is only like journey of self-discovery. And I think that's something that's really beautiful. Like one of the quotes, one of the rules of the book, one of the 40 rules, it's like east, west, east, west, north, or south makes very little difference. Where as long as you travel within, you're traveling the whole world and beyond. So definitely this whole idea of self-discovery and self-love. I love that book because of this idea. Um, and then Midnight Libraries were quite popular. Like a friend recommended it to me because then it was like all over Goodreads and everything by Matt Haig. Again, quite it's a fiction, but it's so philosophical in nature. Which like the idea is that we all have regrets in life and
Mm-hmm.
like alternative lives that we wished we could live. I definitely like relate to that. Like what if, the whole what if syndrome, what if my life was this way? But then if we were given like infinite choices, then what would be the best way to live? So then the protagonist, her name is Nora, she's given the option to actually do like choose between all these alternate lives and choose like, okay, which life is going to make me the happiest. So then in one life she's able to, so this is in the whole Midnight Library, she's able to live a life where she's successful, like very good professional swimmer. Then other life she's able to live a life where she's with the love of her life. And then in another life she's like popular and everything. But then in the end she realizes that even these like seemingly perfect lives, they aren't perfect after all.
Mm-hmm.
So then something I learned from this book is that happiness, it's not really a destination after all. Like maybe it's like already here in these ordinary moments, but especially as young people like myself, we are just so busy looking for it somewhere else. Like what if my life was this way, what if my life was that way, when rather just like embrace our messy imperfect lives and do they basically like make do with what we have. So yeah, these two books definitely, they're amazing.
Nice. Nice. Very good. I'm sure we
I
will put
could,
them in
yeah.
your show notes actually. Uh,
Yeah, I can keep going, but these two come to mind at the moment.
but they're relevant also, right? And it also aligns to what your life journey actually. It's been a
Yeah,
pleasure,
definitely.
Sania, to actually talk to you, and also I'm looking forward to more books from you in the
Hmm.
future. More accolades. Definitely your marketing
Yes.
things which you will do in the future. I'm looking forward to those. Until then, it's signing off. Arthi Vijayaraghavan from 10x Growth Strategies. Thank you, Sania, so much for being a guest on our show.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.